Let's look at some of the occultists and secret societies that led to the formation of communism in Europe and elsewhere. The Jacobin Club is the first and probably the most influential. And again, this all goes back to the French Revolution and the fomenters of the French Revolution. See, socialism in Europe really has its roots in the French Revolution, and also prior to that with the occultist ideologues and secret societies that paved the way to the French Revolution and fomented it. The Society of the Jacobins, commonly known as the Jacobin Club, or simply the Jacobins, was founded in 1789 by anti-royalists from Brittany in northwestern France. The club grew into a nationwide movement with a membership of more than 500,000 people, making it the largest and most powerful political organization during the French Revolution. Women were not accepted as members of the Jacobin Club, and their high membership fees confined its membership to well-off men, the rich. The Jacobins claimed to speak on behalf of the people, but were themselves not of the people. Contemporaries saw the Jacobins as a club of the bourgeoisie. So why would they want to implement socialism? And this is what you have to understand by reading information about how these occultists work. I highly recommend the book None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen, talking about how throughout time the very highest level financiers want to give socialism to the public classes, so it basically keeps them in a state of destitution and not owning property and not having resources. They want destitution amongst the average person. This is why the economy is in the shambles that it is in today, and the rampant destruction of the U.S. economy and the rampant inflation that's taking place. Let's go back to the Jacobin Club. Again, they were seen as bourgeoisie, not representing the people. And this is a depiction of their meetings, and you see in the balcony section in the back, that's where women were confined. They were not allowed to take part in the discussions, but they could observe the proceedings. The Jacobin Club included both French parliamentary factions, the Montagne and the Girondins. I hope I'm pronouncing that relatively correct. The Girondins had overthrown King Louis XVI and set up the French First Republic. In May 1793, leaders of the Montagne faction, led by Maximilien Robespierre, succeeded in sidelining the Girondin faction and controlling the government until July 1794. Robespierre, whose political views were rooted in the notion of the social contract, was viewed as the political force of the Jacobin movement. So he was a Jacobin himself. The Jacobins' time in government featured high levels of political violence, resulting in the execution of 17,000 political opponents nationwide in France. For this reason, the period of the Jacobin government of France is identified as what is called the Reign of Terror. The Jacobins' reign of terror was instituted as a means of combating those who they perceived as enemies within, kind of like the Night of the Long Knives. In July 1794, the National Convention of France pushed Robespierre and his Jacobin allies out of power and had Robespierre and 21 of his associates executed by guillotine. In November 1794, the Jacobin Club officially disbanded. Jacobin rhetoric would lead to the increasing secularization of Europe throughout the whole 1800s. Again, that's one of their main methodologies and ideologies. Secularize, de-spiritualize the population. You cannot get them focused on philosophy. You cannot get them focused on spirituality. You have to root them in secularism and materialism. The political rhetoric espoused by the Jacobins would lead to the development of the modern leftist movements throughout the 19th, 20th, and 21st century. They all own their origin to the Jacobins. With Jacobinism being the political foundation of almost all leftist schools of thought, including socialism and communism. Georges Valois, founder of the 20th century French fascist party, Fascio, claimed that the roots of fascism also stemmed from the Jacobin movement. Once again, these are not political opposites. They are not ideological opposites. They all lead to the same form of state control and human slavery and neo-feudalism. So we have to stop seeing this left and right divide. There is no such thing. The only divide is right versus wrong. That's the only one that we should really concern ourselves with, of learning what is true morality. Gracchus Babeuf, a French